Welcome back to Tai Chi Live. I hope that over the weekend you had some opportunity to do our 7 minutes of serenity, which we did in our last Tai Chi Live episode. Like I told you last time, this time we're going to do some movement learning, some instruction on the individual movements. And I wanted to call this, or I started to call this, movement practice. But it's really much more than that, because it's not the movements of Tai Chi necessarily that are going to give you the benefits of Tai Chi. It's really understanding how those underlying principles apply to the individual movements. So instead of calling this movement practice, we're going to call it principle practice, which my husband finds fascinating because he's a former high school principal. And I said, different kind of principal. It's LE. So we're going to practice some individual movements today, and we're going to focus on the principle of substantial and insubstantial. Now, if you think about our last segment with our 7 minutes of serenity, remember I talked about being suspended from the crown of your head and allowing your body to fall naturally into alignment. That's one of the principles that we're talking about as well. That allowing your body to fall naturally into alignment follows in with what we call columns. You have one column straight down the center of your body in Tai Chi, one column through each shoulder, through each hip. Today, we're going to talk about not only columns, but really we're going to focus on substantial and insubstantial. As you'll find out as we go through this series of principle practice, the principles really interrelate. Yes, we'll talk about them kind of individually, but they will interrelate.
Start over, you didn't have any sound.
Okay.
Sorry.
Am I now? Okay. Sound, so I apologize for that. Welcome back. You are now on Tai Chi Live, and I hope that you had the opportunity to go through the 7 minutes of serenity, which we did last time, at least maybe a couple times, so that you could allow your body to relax. As I said in the last segment, that we're going to go over this time, we're going to practice some of the individual movements. And I wanted to call this movement practice, but then I started thinking about it. The movements of Tai Chi are not necessarily how you get the benefits of Tai Chi. You get the benefits of Tai Chi from applying the underlying principles. So that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it principle practice, so that you can start to get the benefits of Tai Chi, and that's really why you do it, right? When we did the 7 minutes of serenity, we talked about being suspended from the crown of our head, allowing our body to fall naturally into alignment. That's really about the principle of columns. In Tai Chi, we have 3 columns, one straight down the center of our body, one through each shoulder, and one through each hip. That is a postural, just like falling naturally into alignment. So we talked a little bit about columns last time. Columns are going to come into play this time, but our real focus is the principle of substantial and insubstantial. As we go through this series, you'll find that the principles are, yes, we're going to talk about them individually, but they really interrelate. So the concept of substantial and insubstantial is really about where your weight is. And that doesn't mean I carry my weight in my gut or I carry my weight in my rear end. That's not what I'm talking about. As you're moving, you need to understand where your weight is at all times. So if we just step side to side here, just step side to side very gently. And if what you're doing right now is just allowing momentum to happen, this is not understanding your weight. What I want you to think about is as you move from one side, think about that outside column. Bring your weight over to that outside column. Then as you shift, bring your weight over to the other column. Good, so now you're being conscious about where your weight is. As you shift, I don't want you to shift like this. Don't stick that hip out. As you can see now, my columns are not intact, right? You have to make sure you keep your body in alignment, shifting that weight over. This side now becomes the substantial side. This side is my insubstantial side. Or you might think of it as empty and full. This is my full side, this is my empty side. Because it's empty, now it's free to move. And then I allow it to become full, and now this side is empty. I often talk about it as water flowing from one side into the next. So as I step, the water is now flowing from this side over here, and I don't move this leg until it's completely empty. So again, stepping, and good. So now as you step over to this side, bringing that weight over, if this is your full side, this is your substantial side, I want you to bring this hand high and the other hand underneath as if you're holding a ball. And this move is called hold the ball. So now as you step, bringing this side to be substantial, you switch your hands and hold the ball. Remember to stay tall, remember to be suspended. As you step and feel that weight shift, feel that water flowing from one side into the next. Good, so now we're going to do something called chi walking. In chi walking, and I'm going to step back because I'm going to step towards the camera. When I do my chi walking, I can twist quite a bit, and I can get very low, and I can step really long steps. Okay, and I can still stay in my columns and I can still stay relaxed. But if you're a beginner to Tai Chi, you don't want to be doing that. What I want you to understand is you take Tai Chi at your level and you figure out what's best for your body. Again, make sure that your area is nice and free from anything that you could trip on, because now we're going to be moving. As you do your chi walking, you're going to think about your substantial and insubstantial. As you step forward with this foot, bring a little bit of weight onto that foot and then rock back. If you can, open that foot up just a little bit. Notice that this foot, that back foot, now turns in that same direction. And then I bring my other foot forward. Notice as I rock back, I'm adjusting this foot, and then I'm turning and bringing my weight forward. Let's talk a little bit about your substantial and insubstantial. If you bring a little bit of weight forward onto this foot, rock back. Now you're going to bring all the weight onto this foot, and you don't move this back foot until it's completely empty. Then you can step forward, rocking back. Now bring a little bit of weight onto this leg. Now all that weight, let it come forward, let all that water flow into this front leg. Don't lift that back leg until it's completely empty. You don't have to twist as you're walking. If that bothers your knees, if you're not comfortable with that, you can step forward, bringing that weight forward. Don't twist. Just bring the weight simply forward. If you're not doing that twist, make sure that you're not stepping too narrowly, because what happens is if you step forward like this, now you're going to be very unbalanced. Think about weight, a little bit of weight forward, rock back. Now bring all the weight onto this forward leg. Then step forward with that empty leg. Bring a little bit of weight forward, rock back. Now bring all the weight onto that front leg so it becomes your substantial leg, and your insubstantial leg is now free to move. One thing that I see in beginners often is as they're bringing all their weight forward, they often try to lift like this. So you're going to bring your weight forward, rock back. Now as you bring all that weight forward, keep this knee slightly bent. Doesn't have to be really bent, but slightly bent. Don't lift and lock your knee. That's actually really bad for your knees. Keep that knee soft. Now step forward, rocking forward, rock back. Let this leg now become substantial. That water's flowing all the way into this front leg. As you step this leg forward, the insubstantial leg, you do not need to lock the substantial leg. One more step. Rocking forward, rocking back, letting this leg become completely substantial, and then stepping forward. Good, so now let's go back to our hold the ball. If you bring your weight over to this side, holding the ball, remember the substantial leg, that hand is the one that's high. Then bringing the weight over to the other side. And good. Now as you bring your weight over to this side, this leg becomes empty, right? It's free to lift. If you can't lift that high, that's fine. You can put your foot down like this. Just make it so that this side is substantial and this side is insubstantial. Remember, full, empty. Then step, bringing all that weight over. Once this leg becomes empty, it should be free to lift. It should be easy. Remember, Tai Chi, you feel light. And this is part of how you feel light. Not only that suspension, but also being able to understand where your weight is in this substantial and insubstantial principle. Now we're going to add a kick. Just kick slightly out. The height of the kick doesn't matter. Don't worry about the height of the kick. What you're worried about is where your weight is. You can feel it on that outside column. This leg is insubstantial and it can kick. One more. Good, now we're going to do a move that's called pheasant stance, which is very similar to what we were just doing, where you bring your weight over to one side, you let your other leg become empty, lift that knee, and then point that elbow towards that knee. Just like that. Remember, the height does not matter. Your foot can be down, but that elbow's like this. Your other hand is in front, helping you with that balance. Step to this side now. Let this leg become empty and pheasant stance. Good, one more. Remember, thinking about your substantial and insubstantial. Good, now with one of the moves in Tai Chi, it's called repulse the monkey. We actually step backwards. So instead of stepping away from the camera, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step this way. I want you to bring one foot forward, doesn't matter. This is why the movements that I've chosen, because while we're in my basement here and I don't have a wall of mirrors, you can relax. It doesn't matter which way you're moving. That's how I've designed it. So just relax and follow along. Bring one foot forward. As you step back, oftentimes it's very tempting to counterbalance and do this, but that's actually not a good position, right? You're gonna fall. You also don't want to pull back. So understanding your substantial and insubstantial, understanding your columns. If you have one foot forward, bring a little bit of weight onto that forward foot. Now bring the weight back onto this back foot. Allow this front leg to become empty. It becomes insubstantial. Because it's insubstantial, it's easy to step backwards. Now let that weight come to the back leg. Let this front leg become insubstantial and step backwards. One more step. Good. So now I'm going to come forward. We're going to do the arm movement with repulse the monkey. If this foot is forward, that same hand is forward. The back hand is to the back. Now it's not 180 degrees. You're more at a less harsh angle. Remember to bring the weight back, substantial and insubstantial. Now your weight, that substantial leg is on that back leg. As you step backwards, you're going to push this arm forward and just switch hands. Then bring that weight back and step backwards. Good. That's your repulse the monkey. Let's try it one more time. Bring your weight back, letting this front leg become insubstantial. Stepping back and just switching the hands. One more. Switching the hands. Good. So that's repulse the monkey. We're going to go over 2 more movements. And remember, the focus is understanding where that weight is. So this next movement is wave hands like clouds. And you actually step to the side when you do wave hands like clouds. So just like what we're doing at the beginning, I want you to step, bring all the weight over to this side. This side now becomes substantial. Bring this leg in, but now the weight has to shift to this side because you still want to step that direction. Let this leg become insubstantial again. Step. Now it becomes substantial. This one becomes insubstantial and it can step in. But now that weight has to shift so that this foot can step out. Okay? That's wave hands like clouds, the foot movement. With your hands, you're simply letting those arms float as if you have a big ball right in front of you. And you're just rotating and letting that ball float with you. Step out, letting the weight come all the way over onto this foot, and then you switch your hands as it comes over to the other foot. Stepping to the side and bringing that foot in. One more step. And now you can step to the other side. This foot is insubstantial, so now you can step the other way. It makes no difference which way you're stepping, especially if you understand you're substantial and you're insubstantial. One more. Good. So now we get to do wave hands like clouds is everybody's favorite move. Now we get to do the move that everybody dreads. And it's called snake creeps. And then we move into that pheasant stance. Remember, we've already done the pheasant stance part of this. Your snake creeps, don't worry, again, you own your own body. You own your own knees. You own your own hips. You do not have to be super flexible. You do not have to go super low on this movement. As you do your Tai Chi through the years, you can begin to challenge yourself and allow yourself to go lower and get that flexibility. Yes, Tai Chi helps you with that, but you don't put pressure on yourself to be immediately good at something. What I want you to do is bring your weight over to this side. With your fingers, you're just going to put your fingers with your thumb, bring them over to the side, and then just let your hand drop. Okay, this is actually called a bird's beak. It's not all that important, but that hand position is a bird's beak. Now you're going to step out with this foot, and you're going to point that foot that direction. Now it's very tempting to bring the weight that way because you've stepped that direction. So now shift that weight back by bending this knee just a little bit. Now the foot that's pointed out this way, I want you to take this hand, trace that leg, turn your body. See how I just turned my back foot? Turn your body so it's facing this direction. Now bring that weight forward. See how my columns stayed intact? I'm shifting my weight forward, letting this leg become insubstantial so it can come into that pheasant stance. Let's try that again. You form your bird's beak. You've stepped out with this foot. Shift that weight back by bending this knee just a little bit. Trace that leg, turn your entire body. Bring that weight forward. If you need to do a center step here before you lift into your pheasant stance, that's totally fine. Guess what? We get to do it on both sides of our body. So now form that bird's beak on the other hand. Step out with this foot. Now remember, it's real tempting because you've stepped out with that foot to bend that knee, but that's not the knee that needs to be bent. Bring the weight back towards the hand that has the bird's beak. Bend that knee. Now you take the other hand. Trace that leg, turning your entire torso. Now this is the substantial and insubstantial part that's very important. Bring that weight forward and then let that leg come up into your pheasant stance. Let's try that side one more time. You've stepped out, but shift your weight back. Bring this hand, let it trace the leg, turning your entire torso, bringing that weight forward and lifting into your pheasant stance. This principle practice is an important part of getting the benefits of Tai Chi. Just standing in a room and moving slowly is not Tai Chi. And you're not going to get the benefits of stress relief, the benefits of being more balanced, the benefits of better sleep quality. If you understand how to apply the principles to the movements, that's what's going to drive the benefits of Tai Chi. And remember, one of the cornerstones of our Open the Door to Tai Chi system is that we don't practice for perfection. Perfection is not the goal. The goal is to get the benefits of Tai Chi. So as you're doing it, just relax. Let your body do what it can do. And as you're doing your practice this week, try to think about your substantial and insubstantial. Don't forget about your columns. Don't forget about being suspended, but really focus on where is your weight? Am I leaning forward? Am I leaning back? Does my hip stick out? Try to keep those columns intact and then bring the weight all the way over and all the way over. Or perhaps you're moving forward with Chi walking. Whatever it is, focus on that substantial and insubstantial. And the next time we're together, we're going to do another segment of 7 minutes of serenity. So we have you look forward to some practice, principle practice, actually doing the movements. And then the next time we're together, we're actually going to put this together into a form so that you can get the benefit of that stress relief, which I know we all need. So thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.